Sometimes you pick up a book and on the surface, it looks pretty simple. But every now and then, one of those books can unlock an entire world. And that is exactly what we're going to dive into today.
Okay, so take a look at this. This is our source material. On the face of it, it's a technical handbook called Useful Trees and Shrubs for Kenya. You flip through it, you see a bunch of botanical names, descriptions of tree bark, tips on how to get seeds to grow. I mean, it seems pretty academic, right? Almost dry.
But what if we look a little closer? What if a book like this isn't just about trees? What if it's actually a secret window into an entire culture? Well, that's the big question we're asking, because tucked away inside these pages is this incredible story, a story about the deep, deep connection between a people and the world around them.
And to do that, we're zooming in on the Kikuyu people of Kenya. We're going to see how for them, the forest isn't just some pretty background scenery. No, it's the very foundation of their whole way of life.
All right, so let's get our bearings. Look at this map with me. Right here, smack in the middle of Kenya's Central Highlands. That's the traditional homeland of the Kikuyu. We're talking fertile soil and historically, just these incredibly rich forests. And this geography is everything. It's the key, because it's the source of all the materials, the medicine, and even the spirituality that we're about to get into.
So, let's start with the basics, the practical stuff. How does a forest become your everyday toolkit? The place you go for the essentials of life.
Well, for the Kikuyu people, the trees and shrubs around them aren't just there. They're basically the local hardware store, the pharmacy, and the grocery store all rolled into one. And this knowledge, knowing exactly which branch to use for what job, that's not something you just look up. It's a vital skill, passed down from one generation to the next.
Okay, so check this out. This plant here, its fancy scientific name is Plectranthus barbatus, but for the Kikuyu, it's simply mygoya. It's this common, kind of fragrant herb. Honestly, it's the kind of thing most of us would probably just walk right past without even noticing.
But this is where it gets so cool. This one little shrub is like a Swiss Army knife. You can use its leaves to help ripen bananas. You can plant it to create a living fence. It's got medicinal uses. And get this, the leaves are soft and fragrant, so they're used as a natural toilet paper and as a kind of perfume. I mean, how incredible is that?
And this is just a perfect example of how specific this knowledge is. It's not like you just grab any old piece of wood. Oh no. If you need something really strong, say for a tool handle, you go find a marundo tree. But if you're carving something like a beehive or a mortar, you need a lighter wood, something easier to shape. For that, you use the muhudi tree. See? Different trees, different properties, totally different purposes.
Okay, so that's the toolkit. But this connection goes way deeper. Let's move beyond tools, because the forest is also the community's pharmacy and its pantry.
And this is where that relationship really starts to deepen. We're not just talking about survival anymore, we're talking about well-being. Knowing which leaf to chew on when your stomach hurts, or which berries are safe and sweet to eat, that's absolutely essential knowledge.
So let me introduce you to the muthiga tree. Its reputation is so huge that people literally call it the chemist tree. Our handbook says that pretty much every single part of it, we're talking bark, roots, leaves, the whole shebang, is used in traditional Kikuyu medicine for a ton of different ailments. It's basically a living, breathing pharmacy, just standing there in the forest.
And food, of course, the forest provides that too. Just picture being a kid learning this process. You're taught how to spot the muter shrub, by its prickly stems. And you learn that when those berries go from orange to bright red, that's when they're sweet and perfect for eating. It's such a direct and delicious connection to the land.
Okay, now we're getting to the deepest level of this connection. Because some trees, they're not just useful for tools or for medicine. They are pillars of the spiritual world.
This right here is the muratina tree. You can't really miss it with those long, sausage-like fruits hanging down. It's a really striking tree, and believe me, its importance in Kikuyu culture is just as big.
So, this quote from our handbook really nails its importance. It says, "Those long fruits are key to making a traditional ceremonial beer, which is also called muratina." And this isn't just any drink. It's essential for all the big life events. Think weddings, initiations, you name it. The tree itself is literally a part of the celebration.
And this brings us to a really important point. A tree like the muratina is useful for ceremonies, right? But some trees go beyond that. They aren't used for anything. They just are sacred. And at the top of that list are two types of fig trees. First, there's the mukuyu. It's considered sacred just by existing. Having one nearby is seen as a blessing. But then there's the mugumo tree. and it's even more significant. It's basically a natural, open-air temple. It's a sacred spot for prayers, for offerings, is a direct bridge between our world and the spiritual world.
So, let's step back a second. When you pull all these threads together, the practical, the medicinal, the spiritual, what's the big picture here?
What we're seeing is that this isn't just a list of fun facts in a book. It's a whole complex, interconnected system of knowledge. It's a living, breathing heritage that's practiced every single day, not something that just sits on a shelf.
The forest itself becomes like a history book for the Kikuyu people. You know, a scar on a tree where someone harvested bark for medicine? That tells a story of healing. A clearing where a giant mugumo tree stands. That tells a story of generations and generations of prayer and worship.
So, what started out looking like a simple book about plants has turned into something so much deeper, right? The forest isn't just a bunch of resources, it's a library. And every single tree is like a book holding a chapter of Kikuyu history, their wisdom, and their identity.
And that really leaves us with one last thought. This kind of deep connection to the natural world, it's not just a story about one group of people in one part of the world. It's a challenge, really. A challenge to all of us to look at our own environments a little differently. So I'll leave you with this question. What stories do the trees in your neighborhood tell?